Most of us have been taught that ambition means the hustle, chasing success, and pushing ourselves to the brink all of the time. But what if that definition of making it actually is holding us back? In a new book, The Ambition Trap leadership coach Amina Altai challenges the traditional view of ambition and offers a radical reframe. To tell us more now, we are joined by the author of that great book, How to Stop Chasing and Start Living. Good morning. Thanks for being with us this morning. I have to tell you, this subject hits very close to home for me because I feel like this has been my life for the past 30, 35 years, trying to hustle to make it. Are you saying that that course is not the way to go?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And I see you and feel you. I have felt the same way.
Right.
Thing about the hustle all the time, always be on, always be working, is that it often costs us our health, our relationships, and it can uphold oppressive systems. And so, what I'm an advocate for is much more sustainability with our ambition.
Is this a lot of it cultural that growing up in this country that we are just taught to go, go, go and to always go for that brass ring?
I think that that's true. There's some cultural forces for sure. And for me, especially, like I'm an elder millennial, I came of age in sort of the girl boss era where we were told to double down and work extra hard. But I think what we're seeing is that doesn't work for everybody.
Now, what led you to take on this subject? It's a very interesting one that you don't see tackled a whole lot. Why delve into it?
Well, it's very personal for me. So, like you, I learned to kind of keep my head down, work really
Yeah.
hard, always be hustling. And then I eventually burned out and I developed two autoimmune diseases. And then I'm an executive coach to high achievers from Olympians to Fortune 100 leaders. And I started to see the same patterns alive in them that were alive in me, and that our ambition was expensive. And so I wanted to find a way for us to be in right relationship with it.
Now, is this book geared for people who are just hopping into the workforce, be it to kind of give them what to be wary of, or is this for people who've been in the game for a while who might need to really rethink their goals?
It's for everybody. So my clients range from 28 to 68 because so many of us have been taught to have a dysfunctional relationship with ambition. And so a lot of these concepts are really new to a lot of people. Like, for example, one of the things that I teach in the book is that our ambition goes in cycles, kind of like seasons. So there are seasons of growth and then there are seasons of rest. And that's a novel concept for a lot of people, regardless of where we are in the decade of our career.
You would have to admit, though, that for people early on in a career, you really do need to hustle to get to that next level. Is that kind of the case? And can you start to back off a little bit as you become a little bit more successful?
Absolutely. So I'm an advocate of hard work, right? We have to set ourselves up well. We have to oftentimes, especially when we enter the workforce, we have to prove ourselves. But where it gets tricky is when we tip over that line and we start to hurt ourselves or we hurt others to get to the goal. And so I don't like to use the language of hustle because I think sometimes it
Yeah.
can have us instrumentalize our minds and bodies. But of course it requires hard work, but the energy and the intention behind it is a little bit different, right? I want to take care of myself while I do this hard work.
Yeah. When would you know, or when would a person know that they are perhaps going too hard? I know in my own case, I used to go to a doctor, and every time I go in for a checkup, he'd say, look, your blood pressure is high. You need to do something about it. And then years later, I did develop a minor heart problem. And I'm thinking if I had learned your lessons earlier on, I might have been able to avoid that. Is that kind
Mm.
of a typical case?
It is a typical case. So in the book, I talk about how there's two types of ambition. There's painful ambition that's driven by our core wounds, and we each have them. And then there's purposeful ambition, which is connected to purpose and truth. And each of them have some hallmarks, right? So painful ambition is we kind of need to win no matter the cost. We'll hurt our bodies to get to the goal,
Right.
right? We have to move at these unsustainable paces. And so if you're kind of operating with some of those hallmarks, it might be time to check in and say, how can I reorient so I'm coming from that place of purpose versus just trying to prove myself or to win.
Do you see less of this problem in other countries? I'm thinking about some of the European countries that we hear about where people take more time off. I have a sister who lives in France who gets the entire summer off from her job. Is it a bigger problem here than in many other cultures?
I do think it is a really interesting challenge here in particular. I think that for a lot of us, it's sort of a belief system that our jobs are our identities. And so I think that there are unique sort of cultural forces and factors coming together that make it almost bring it to a boiling point here in the US. But that said, my book was picked up overseas too. So it does tell me that other people are rumbling with this as well.
Amina Altai, very interesting discussion. Best of luck with that book. We appreciate your
Thank,
time this morning.
thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.